Even though most pre-legalization abortions were performed by doctors, of course some of them weren't. But the majority of the ones that were performed by non-physicians were done by people who did have some medical training and could be expected to understand basic principles of surgery, sanitation, and things like that. And it was one of those, not a doctor, but still in the medical field, abortionists that cost 23-year-old Lizzie her life in 1882. I'm Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, and today is November 16th. So Elizabeth Lizzie Holstein was 23 years old. She had originally worked as a house servant in Wilmington, Delaware before moving to Philadelphia. Now, in June of 1882, she and her beau, William Kaufman, traveled to the family home in Delaware to ask her parents' permission to marry. Then she returned to Philadelphia and continued a job as a family servant until October 30th when she moved in with her aunt. Now, she did return briefly to her employer's house on November 7th to retrieve some of her clothing, and at the time she was suffering from fever and chills. She corresponded with her parents about her illness, and they traveled to Philadelphia to look after her. Now, her condition seemed to be improving on Friday and Saturday, but on Sunday she relapsed. Her condition deteriorated steadily. On Tuesday evening, she spoke to her aunt and confessed that she was ailing from the effects of an abortion that Kaufman had paid for. It had been perpetrated on October 7th by the dentist who had made her false teeth. So Lizzie's aunt asked Elizabeth to be more specific. Who was the dentist who made her false teeth? She said George Buchanan at 5th and Pine Street. Lizzie also made a deathbed statement to Dr. Samuel Marshall, who attended her in her final sickness. Again, she identified a dentist named Dr. Buchanan as her abortionist. Now, Dr. Marshall thought that Lizzie was referring to John Buchanan, an evidently well-known local criminal who had been convicted of some crime having to do with issuing bogus diplomas. John Buchanan was George Buchanan's father. Now, in spite of all that Dr. Marshall could do, Lizzie died on November 16th from cumulative blood loss. Her parents had known nothing about the pregnancy or the abortion until her death. Dr. Marshall notified the coroner's office, and an investigation quickly led to the arrest and conviction of George Buchanan. Now, he was granted a new trial, and I haven't been able to determine what the outcome of this appeal was. And just briefly, like, share, subscribe so I can go to Chicago. On November 16th of 1905, an 18-year-old clerk named Dorothy died at Cook County Hospital from an abortion that had been perpetrated on the 13th. A midwife named Julia Gibson, again, somebody with a medical background, was arrested and held to the coroner's jury, and she went on to be implicated in another fatal abortion the following year. Again, medical training. I have no idea whether this midwife's patient deaths were because antibiotics and blood transfusions weren't a thing yet, or whether it's because she was guilty of quackery. Like, share, subscribe. I would love to find out.